Everyone, it's Daniel Elwood and Robert Paul Johnson. We are the Last Nighters. You can find us on lastnighters.com and also on the Liberty Movement's YouTube channel, which we will have on our show notes page at lastnighters.com/160 as we're talking about the movie Mad Max. So we're heading down to Adelaide to talk to our friend Shaheen, who is actually from Australia, obviously, and as is Mel Gibson, and the Mad Max franchise started there. So this will be a lot of fun. And again, you can find the show notes more at lastnight.com/160. Shaheen has been on our show 11 times now. This is time number 11, but the 10th movie. We did Die Hard with you and then a bunch of DC and Batman stuff. And we do have you slated to come back, I think in April, to do the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. So that should be awesome. I'm looking forward to that. I hear it's going to be a 4 or 5 hour multi-part movie or something.
It's gonna be 4 hours, yeah. And I think it was meant to be like a mini series, but they're making it a movie again. So yeah, should be good. Anything's better than the 2017 shit. I mean, we did an episode on that, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we crapped all over that.
I didn't actually watch it fully for that. I remember I just like skipped through it because I could not bear the torture of like I already know the movie. So I didn't really need to sit through the whole 2 hours. I kind of just skimmed through. I'm like, okay, that tortures me, but yeah.
Right, and we also did Batman v Superman, the Snyder Cut version of that, which I ended up watching both of them, and yeah, the Snyder Cut version definitely is an upgrade because it has.
I think you said you went from a 5 or a 6 to an 8. And I went from like a 3 or a 4 to a 6 after our analysis. That was your ratings. So that's what I want. Higher ratings for BVS.
Can't get any worse. So yeah.
Yeah, and it did make a lot more sense. It made a lot more sense with the stuff that Snyder put back in. So I think that helped, and I'm really looking forward to what they do with the new Snyder Cut.
I think Warner Brothers is just kind of retarded with what they do with the films. They just cut so much out.
Well, I have to say, the Steppenwolf looks way better. I don't know if you guys have seen the promo images of Steppenwolf. He looked like a grainy, blurry gray guy, and now he looks like this golden, spiky god creature. He looks awesome.
Spiky fuck. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he looks so much better. Good. Like they really took their time and made this thing look good. So
apparently, a lot of the scenes to do with the alien stuff that Warner Brothers deemed too scary are going to be put back in the film now. So a lot of like the murder scenes, cutting people in half, like the parademons, the henchmen that Steppenwolf has, like how they're made from humans, like their breeding pods and stuff. They're all going to be explored. So it's going to be maybe an R rating. I don't know. It's going to be good. And apparently Batman drops the F-bomb, so that's going to be nice.
Nice.
Holy bat.
So was there a lot of reshoots for this? Or was this all taken from original footage?
So in 2016, after BVS, Zach shot everything. And then that was all just sitting there. They had a 5-hour assembly cut. And now he's using about 4 hours of that. Plus an extra like 5 minutes of additional photography just to get a few more scenes with, I think, Jared Leto's Joker and, remember Swanwick, the Harry Lennox character? It's them back.
All right.
He's actually Martian Manhunter, yeah.
Oh, right. MM. Nice.
Yeah, no. It's going to be good.
All right, sounds good. Well, we're going to have you back in April for that, and we'll have a listing of all your prior appearances on the show notes page for this one, of course.
Sounds good to me.
And how we usually start this off is with the old Google description. So here we go. Mad Max came out 1979 action adventure film, 1 hour and 35 minutes. 6.9 on that IMDb, 90% Rotten Tomatoes, 73% Metacritic, and 87% of Google users like it. The description reads, in a not too distant dystopian future, when man's most precious resource, oil, has been depleted and the world plunged into war, famine, and financial chaos, the last vestiges of the law in Australia attempt to restrain a vicious biker gang. Max, played by Mel Gibson, an officer with the Main Force Patrol, launches a personal vendetta against the gang when his wife, Joanne Samuel, and son are hunted down and murdered, leaving him with nothing but the instincts for survival and retribution. Release date February 15, 1980. Director George Miller. Budget $350 million, which I guess is pretty low budget. And it did exceptionally well.
Yeah, no, that's not $1 million. There's no way that's $350 million movie.
Right. So of course has Mel Gibson and started a whole franchise out of this. So I think this is one of those movies that did a lot better than they were expecting, and so they tacked on additional content on the back end of it to kind of like fit it into a whole new universe of.
This is where we plug the Patreon.
Yeah, let's plug the Patreon.
Hell yeah.
Our Patreon is lastnighters.com/Patreon, and we are going to be probably moving that. I know I've threatened this in the past. I'm probably going to be moving that to like Subscribestar or Buy Me a Coffee or some other means of supporting us, because as we were talking in some of the pre-show bonus content with Robert here, the social media companies are not being too kind to anything outside of the cathedral's narrative. So our days are numbered on these platforms as it is. I think that we're actually relatively tame. But I don't think that is. I saw a meme that's like, it's like 5 people or 6 or 7 people, and this guy in the middle is like, "Oh, we just need to get rid of the extremists," and so they get rid of the person on the far end, and then the next panel down, now there's just 6 people. Now we need to get rid of the extremists, and it goes on until it's just that person who was in the middle, and they're like the extent of that. Safe amount of content, like everyone to the right of that person has been deplatformed and removed from the public square, so to speak.
Yes. So yeah, maybe we will do that at some point, but we're not at that point yet. I mean, I think we're still fairly small, so we're flying under the radar, so to speak. But anytime they could throw down the banhammer. You never know.
That's right. We just say the one wrong thing, and who knows what it'll be. In fact, I've told my wife many times, I am so, I guess, advanced in my distrust of all things mainstream that I don't even know when I'm being conspiratorial sounding to a normie. Like, I don't know where that line is anymore. It's totally lost on me. Like I couldn't tell you when I said something that is maybe over the line anymore. No idea.
Yeah. Well, you never know what's the new offensive thing. So, and that changes constantly. So. All
right. Well, why don't you offend me?
Live your life.
Offend me with your opening salvo here, toe cutter.
Okay. So yeah, Mad Max. It's interesting. You were talking about in the description there. I didn't really get. You get the sense that everything's poor and a little bit haphazard and kind of junky, but I didn't get the post-apocalyptic setting with post-oil and I kind of understood the whole. You get the feel that they're kind of trying to hold society together with this ragtag band of cops, but. It more just seemed like, there's a motorcycle gang and there's some cops, and the motorcycle gang doesn't really have any kind of motivations other than that they're complete assholes and they don't like anybody standing up to them. So they're just like the classic 80s bully characters where they can just run around and be complete douchebags to everybody. And for seemingly absolutely no reason other than to just be complete douchebags. Like they are getting nothing out of it other than to just be complete hooligans running around, throwing their weight around, scaring people. And it's a minimalistic approach. Like George Miller, what I really liked about his storytelling in Fury Road seems like this is the infant version of it, which makes sense, right? Like, he's way younger. This is 20 some odd, 30 some odd years earlier when he's making this film. And it's just his like early ideas, and he's kind of figuring out how to tell a story. The movie feels like it was written down in pencil and kind of figured out as they went. It very much feels improvised. A lot of the script, a lot of the dialogue feels improvised. There isn't a whole lot of dialogue. The scenes, a lot of the scenes are very kind of like half formed. Like they don't really advance the plot. Some do, some don't. But it still has that stripped down feel of, look, this is a basic story and we're just going to tell it as best we can. And it works really, really well in Fury Road when he's got all the production value, all the movie making skills, and it works less good in, with 1/100th of the budget and 1/10 of the movie making knowledge and the skills. But it's still, you still get a sense that it's a fun movie. It's an engaging movie. Towards the end, I felt a lot of good tension, like when the wife character is running around, putting herself in danger, basically unwittingly putting herself in danger. I felt a lot of good tension. I was still mad that the characters are doing kind of dumb things. Like it kind of follows the classic horror tropes of never be armed, always split up, and put yourself in vulnerable situations at all times. They don't do anything smart, but it's still a lot of fun. And I really did enjoy it. And I can see why it spawned so many sequels and launched George Miller's career. And I'm so glad he went on to make Fury Road. And I guess he's making the Furiosa movie and then a sequel to Fury Road. So I'm excited where he's going to go. I'm not expecting some amazing script, but I am expecting just incredible jaw-dropping action, which I thought Fury Road was. I thought Fury Road was the best action movie of the 2010s. That entire decade. I don't think anything else even comes close. So he'll probably set the standard for the 2020s. And hopefully he'll make movies for a long time to come. So I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen The Road Warrior and Thunderdome. So I can't talk about like his progression as a filmmaker. I think I did see Babe 2, and I thought that was, competently done and whatnot. But I can't really talk about, the progression of like ideas per se, or just like the skill of crafting a film and how it's progressed over the years. But I do know that he started off like a guy with a lot of passion and a few ideas, and he ended up in a really good spot. So right on. Good on ya, George Miller. I appreciate your work. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Right. And this was also a film that launched Mel Gibson as a star, really. And then I think Road Warrior kind of cemented that. So you can definitely see in this movie, the first one, Mad Max, the star power that Mel Gibson has. I mean, he's super young looking and thin and all that, but you can definitely tell that he's got some kind of je ne sais quoi, and it played out and made him a big star for a long time after that. But I think you make a lot of good points. I felt like the first movie here was just a lot of like, okay, we're going to have this sort of rough plot, like you were saying, sort of sketched out, and have a couple of, stunt scenes with practical effects. And we're just going to kind of have fun with it, kind of make this exploitation style, crash them up kind of movie, and have this loose plot, sort of try to hold it together. I don't think they're very successful in that. It's more of it gives a feel, and I think that's what kind of took off in the cultural scene. Like, this is a movie and a franchise that you don't even have to have seen to know about it, and to know when people are referring to it in common parlance, like dystopian future, Mad Max style. I remember when the pandemic came out, everyone thought there was this meme that was passing around like, oh, I thought that when the apocalypse happened, the dystopian future, we'd all be dressed like Mad Max. but here we are just wearing our bathrobes and like hoarding toilet paper or something. But I could definitely see why they developed this further, and you really point this out, Robert. If you haven't seen Road Warrior in a while, just the first 5 minutes, it basically takes this entire first movie and then places it into context in the greater world. Apparently, there was a nuclear conflict, and there was fallout, and a whole bunch of promises by politicians that were falling through, and then you're kind of left with this world, this dystopian future. But it definitely felt like an afterthought, that they didn't have that in mind when they made this first movie. It was only when this first movie did well that they did a second movie, and they tried to like shoehorn in this greater narrative.
That makes more sense to me. Yeah. It's also worth pointing out that Mad Max is always the go-to point for anybody who advocates for anarchy.
Right. Oh. Because the anarchy is all about violence, you know?
Yeah.
Flamethrower guitars. Don't forget the flamethrower guitars there.
Well,
that's why I'm an anarchist. Yeah.
That's why,
I mean, isn't that why we're anarchists? I mean,
yeah.
Are you guys here for a different reason? That was my reason. So Fury Road, I'm like, that's it.
That's my life. That's what I want. Yeah. Why don't I have it yet? So I'm going to make it come true.
Shaheen, you're in a similar boat where you had only seen Fury Road until we decided to do this, and then you watched all of these movies. Did you find that you had an awareness of sort of what to expect, or had an expectation when you went into it?
I mean, there's references to Mad Max stuff in everywhere in popular culture. Like there was a Rick and Morty episode, I think, but they had like a Thunderdome and stuff. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, that's a good episode.
Yeah, so like it's everywhere, and like even like Batman v Superman had a scene like in the dystopian future. Everyone was calling out the Mad Max scene. Do you remember that? So Batman with the trench coat.
Where he's got the gun. Yeah,
that's right. So it's the cultural go-to for post-apocalyptic. What I did notice, if I just need to point one thing out, that Google description that ruins the whole movie when it says the wife and kid were murdered, because they got murdered like at the beginning of Act 3 or the end of Act 2. It was like towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, there's like 15 minutes left.
Exactly. So when you say that, it kind of just ruins the whole movie. But yeah, I did feel the tension in the first one. The first one felt more to me like it was a very kind of realistic approach. It's like, what if like everything goes to shit, but people are still living in the cities? There was still green everywhere. It wasn't really deserty as much. And if it was still like regular roads. But as the series went on, it got progressively more and more apocalyptic. Like the first one was kind of normal-ish, but like run down. You had this crazy biker gang who someone killed their friend, and I guess they're just power-hungry maniacs with no other reason. So they just go crazy and start attacking everyone. Then 2, it was the oil rig place in the middle of nowhere, and it was all like there was no green in 2. The way I see it, there are some places that are still kind of like cities and towns and stuff that are not completely run down. But the more you travel, there's lots of places that are run down and full of deserts. And that's kind of just what you see throughout the movies. Because then he goes into the Road Warrior. He goes to there's this big rig, and there's those hippie white dressing people. Who is that right? That was 2, right?
Yeah, and they're trying to get 2,000 miles away because they heard that there's some like fertile land or something nice really far away, and they're being harassed by that gang with the big bald guy.
And then there's the boomerang kid.
Oh, it's Humongous.
That's right. Yeah. Humongous what? Sorry.
Humongous.
That's an old joke.
That's a good one though.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Humongous.
And then, so basically you have the first one that was kind of like not made to be the first movie in a series, but then because it was successful, then they made the second one, which I think was actually pretty good, though it's a little bit confusing. Like when we were watching it, we saw the bad guys like doing all these stunts and going around this area. Mad Max is up on this ridge looking down, and we're like, okay, so are they training Is this them?
Yeah,
that's
kind of what I thought as well. I didn't realize there were two different factions at war. I just thought they were just messing around.
Yeah.
It was only later on that I discovered they were attacking to get the oil, and there was the people inside and people outside. I just thought it was a big, like, I don't know, like just a complex of people hanging around. Didn't realize there was something inside, the different faction outside trying to infiltrate.
Right. Because the view was like from so far away, and I get it. That's Max's like vantage point and whatnot. And then the third one is sort of like the Jedi version, where there's like the Ewoks with those kids, and they're all speaking, broken English.
Tomorrowland, yeah.
Right, and then they end up going to Sydney, right? And it's totally been run down and whatever. But they think he's some kind of like savior, some pilot who apparently crashed a plane and left some kind of artifacts for them. But that and then it's got Tina Turner, and it's like super weird. So a lot of these movies,
the apocalypse just starts going higher and higher each movie. It just gets more and more apocalyptic. Like I think 2 and 3 were the sweet spot, in my opinion. I like all of them, but I think 2 and 3 were just that's where it was at, especially 2.
Okay, and I agree with Robert. I think Fury Road is a far better like film. It looks beautiful. It has a
better production value.
Yeah, and it has a coherent story, but it's also like different enough than these other 3 that you can tell that they introduced new kind of concepts or borrowed some kernels of concepts from various parts of the first movie. Like in the very first one, Mad Max, you've got Knight Rider who's stolen a vehicle and he's trying to get away from the police, and he's like, look at me, toe cutter, look at me, I'm driving fast, look at me, he's
witness. Yep.
Right, and I think that was what they used in Fury Road for the witness stuff and
absolutely
the being super like psyched up and almost in this cult of personality of their leader. And Toe Cutter is the main guy in Fury Road.
Yes, and Morton Joe and Toe Cutter are the same actor. Yeah,
right. And then, he died a couple of years ago now, but
he died a few months ago, like in 2020. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that recent.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
So
well, hats off to him. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Immortan Joe.
Immortan Joe / Toe Cutter.
Witness.
Whatever he identifies as.
Yeah.
And he might like one of them more than the other.
He had more to do in Fury Road. There was so little dialogue in Mad Max, and very little of it was very, meaningful. If you go back and watch the very end, and he's what was it, Kid Charlie or something like that. The last guy, the guy he handcuffs to the truck, and then sets up the thing. Mm-hmm. It so feels like Charlie's just improvising his lines the whole time. It really is just like, and I seriously believe that very, very little was written. And I'm not even, if you got a bunch of talented or even young actors and you just give them the feel and the vibe and you explain who they are and their characters, you can just, roll camera and, this is what needs to happen in the scene. And how would you react? What would your character do? What would they say? If you're dealing with talented enough people, it can work.
Yeah. I found the first one to be pretty confusing. Like you basically have Max, who's a cop, and he's like this badass, but he somehow thinks that maybe he's like too good at it or getting to do it too much. So he like is starting to like it. So he's maybe becoming one of the bad guys. And then his partner, Goose, who's like, he's actually pretty funny in this one. He gets attacked and mutilated. So he's like a little bit pissed off there. And then this gang wants to go after Max. And so they sort of threaten him and they say, we know who you are. We know who you are, which makes you think that they're threatening his family. But then when the biker gang encounters his family, it seems totally random. And they encounter them multiple times, seemingly at random. It's not as if they're being stalked by this gang. It's just they happen to run into each other in the Australian wilderness for some unknown reason. And it's almost like, a horror movie trope, like you were saying, Robert, where they just keep encountering each other and then trying to get away from each other, and there's like this sort of bit of a chase scene, and they keep doing all the wrong things.
This is the half-baked script aspects. I think you're absolutely right. I think you had all the ingredients to, for the gang to be really pissed off, and for them to be complete psychopaths, and for them to have enough of them so that they are stalking these people and finding out who they are. But you're right. She just randomly decides she wants to get her kids some ice cream. So they go over to their hangout where they're hanging out on the beach. And it's just a stroke of bad luck that she runs into them. I mean, if they didn't decide to get ice cream, then that scene doesn't happen and they live happily ever after. I mean, what is this movie hinging on? The kid's desire for ice cream? That's just not a compelling plot motivation point. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Or her wanting to go to the beach, like that other time where she goes down and she's got to go like through this like miles of trail to get down there. She leaves her kid just randomly, like with Max by the car. They don't even know where the kid is.
Yep.
It's
everybody spread out. Nobody be armed. And we'll get picked apart by a superior force. That's real smart. That's good strategy.
And the old lady that scene where they get attacked after she goes to the beach, and then there's the big lumbering dim-witted guy. The granny or the auntie or whoever she is, she says she's going to call somebody, but
who
then
never shows up.
Yeah, that doesn't do anything. So I'm like, okay, why is that important? And then why does it, nothing ever happen with that? And then she goes to shoot the escape with the mom and the kid, and she has one shot in her barrel, and tries to shoot the guys, and they just whiz by her and run over the wife and kid. And again, it's
with a barrel that long. With a barrel that long, there's no excuse for missing that shot, especially the first shot where she shoots into that black barrel. Give me a break. I don't care.
Dementia's a bitch.
Okay, well, I do appreciate though that the shooting grannies show up back up in Fury Road though. I don't know if they're in.
I noticed that as well. No, they're not really. Although Mad Max 2 did have a Furiosa-like character. You notice that? There was this warrior woman.
Oh, right. And I think she's actually
in the second one
titled Warrior Woman.
Yeah, really? Okay. How fitting.
Right. Yeah. And it's in that movie, it's also like confusing because you don't know what's going on with the two groups down below. It kind of looks like they're just playing around or doing like a demolition derby or stunts or something, like practicing. But then when you're introduced to this woman character who's like defending the place with him, it's almost like, oh, they have this opportunity to have this love interest thing happen, but they don't do that either.
But nothing happens. They barely even talk to each other, and then she just gets shot on top of the rig, and that's it.
Right.
It kind of felt like a wasted opportunity. They could have done so much with that.
Yeah. So, Robert, do you think that Mad Max was the title of the movie when they were making it, or did it become the title after they were done and they're like, okay, well, now he's really pissed off because his kid is dead and his wife is like mutilated in the hospital? Because I kind of felt like it was an afterthought.
I thought it was originally just called The Road Warrior, and then it got turned into Mad Max when they wanted to have part 2 be called Mad Max The Road Warrior. Okay. That's what I thought. That's how I understand the titling. I don't know if Shaheen has the inside skinny on that. That's how I recall it being the case.
Not really. I have no idea.
Yeah,
I'm in Australia, but like
in my ancient brain, remember how old I am. I remember going down to the video farm and there being a VHS tape on the shelf, and it was just called The Road Warrior, and it wasn't Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior. So take that for what it's worth, but I think that's the case.
Maybe someone did like a rip-off. They're like, oh shit, this is making money. Let's make our own version. The Road Warrior.
I hope so.
It's like Mad Max 1, except even lower budget.
Did you like the them showing the Hall of Justice like 3 times or 4 times? Just that one like scene setter. Like, oh, now we're back at the Hall of Justice, and They kept using the same clip over and over and over again.
I appreciate that it was called the Hall of Justice. Just reminded me of like the Justice League. That's cute.
That's right. They're run down, but still
works. I don't know where. It's like this old prison out in the middle of nowhere. But I don't know, maybe they do things differently in post-apocalyptic Australia. I don't know.
Yeah. Now there was the one scene there where they sort of had almost a show trial where they had arrested that Charlie Boy or Billy Boy or whatever his name was, and then the DA goes in there. I think it's a DA or it's whatever their justice system is based on, and he's like, no, let him go because he's in the pocket of the motorcycle gang.
Well, but they said that nobody showed up to bear witness or to be at one of the what is the word? You know what I mean?
Or whatever is going to like charge them or be a witness for the crime or whatever.
Right. Somebody needs to press charges, right? And nobody came and did that apparently or whatever.
Right. And likely due to like intimidation, but then it also seemed like this guy was in their pocket.
Yeah, I guess. Although I don't really, do you really think Toe Cutter is that sophisticated? He just seems like a guy who rides around on his bike and randomly assaults anybody who strikes his fancy. I don't know.
They might have killed the witness.
He seems like a character. He seems like a character that would have been dealt with long ago. He doesn't seem like a character that would be alive during this movie. If he's just running around murdering and killing, people would have dealt with him a long time ago. It just seems to me that way. And that's a lot of the case with these, anarchy warlord people that are just complete douchebags and assholes and have no redeeming features. Like, I don't remember if you remember, did we do the Apes movies, the remakes?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Well, I don't know if we did remakes. We did the first one, the Heston.
No, we didn't. So we didn't do any of the Weta ones with, Caesar? The 3 Caesar movies?
We may have referenced them or referred to them in the
Okay.
Heston.
Well, in the third one, what's his name? Cheers, boy.
Woody
Harrelson is this kind of, they call him like the Colonel or something. And he's this psychotic military commander guy. And he's the villain and whatever. But he has like a motivation. He has a reason for why he wants to kill the apes. And he can be kind and charismatic and charming to his subordinates and the people that he works with. He's not just some one-note crazy psycho person that it just doesn't make sense for this character to even exist. So I think I appreciate what George Miller is doing, but obviously, this is his earliest work, and of course it's going to be flawed. And
we can always compare like Toe Cutter to Immortan Joe. It's very fitting that they were played by the same guy, but like he's more sophisticated. He's like the leader. He controls the water. He has all these like the breeders, the women. So he's kind of like that's different. That's like Toe Cutter with a lot more, I guess, power and resources and
there's like a reason why people would follow him, right? He's got a huge family. He's got money and power, and he controls the water. Yeah. In Mad Max the original, it's like, I could guess you could get a couple. You could get some other psychos to follow you because you're running around being a hooligan, and there's plenty of people that are lost and just want to fuck with the world. But there's still people that would get a gun and shoot your ass for doing all that crap. Anyway, because remember the scene where he's just driving by the young couple in the red sports car thing? I don't know, the classic car, the red classic car. And they're just like, well, I just want to kill these people, or I want to rape these people, or beat them up, or whatever, and destroy their car, just because they're there. And that's always the argument for, against anarchy, that people would just act like that. They would just act like random monsters. And when they themselves No random monsters. I don't know any random monsters in my life. I guarantee Daniel doesn't. Shaheen, I don't think you do either. And if there are any, there are people that will put them in check. And it's not just Mad Max that's going to do it. It's 500,000 people that are going to put that person in check. Anyway.
Right. So I have a couple more critiques of the original Mad Max. Number one, Mad Max is apparently really skilled at something, though I don't think it's demonstrated really at any point in the film.
Yeah, I would agree. He just seems to be a guy with a shotgun. Like anybody with a shotgun can do what he does.
Yeah, I guess you can say that like his driving skills and overall just being an action guy, like he might be better than the others. I don't think he was really exceptional. Like, because he's played out to be some really exceptional, like big super badass, but he's not that badass. He's kind of like a regular guy who's had some training. It's kind of tough, but like he's not a superhero or anything. That's kind of the vibe I get.
Yeah, he's definitely not.
Like Batman would fuck him up.
Yeah, Batman would fuck him up. Die Hard would fuck him up. Yeah, he's just a regular guy that lost his family, and a man with nothing left has nothing left to lose, and he's gonna go for it.
I mean, obviously he does have good skills. I mean, to survive the Thunderdome and to go against all these guys time and time again, all these psychos, and still live and win. But yeah, not very graceful. He always gets bashed up and like almost killed throughout the movies.
Right. Well, I guess I mean more in the first movie where the police captain is like, "Oh, you're my best driver," and he's like so impressive at being a cop. But I don't see that demonstrated in the first one, really.
Yeah, no, I totally have to agree with you, Daniel. That was a case of, I think, them not having the skills to show, not tell. That was them being like, "But Mad Max, you're the best thing ever. You're the greatest." And then they don't actually show us that he's the greatest and the best because they just
he's done a little bit of driving around, and he like made one guy crash and die, the Knight Rider guy. But
is that all it takes?
That's all it takes. And you're the best.
I'll crash someone. I can be the best. Fuck yeah.
But then they also try to I guess he's on the verge of wanting to quit, right? And that's sort of one of the subplots. And so they underhandedly or like off the books try to entice him to stay by giving him this supercar.
The Interceptor.
Yeah, the Interceptor, and they make it seem like the guy just found all the parts to do it, but they actually secretly financed it as a way to try to entice him to stay. But then he doesn't really seem to do anything in particular with the Interceptor that he couldn't have done with the car he had originally.
Just run some people off a bridge. The motorcycle.
Yeah, other than that, they kind of made it seem like those motorcycles were just really, really fast, and he had to have that V8 power, that nitrous V8 power in order to catch up with them. But yeah, you're right. It didn't really seem like that car was that special. But again, I will apologize a little bit for them in that this is more of, hey, I got some rough ideas, and we'll try and make a movie kind of work. And it's going to have a whole lot of flaws, and then hopefully we'll be able to be successful, and then we'll make better movies later.
Which they did.
Exactly.
Which they did.
And it's still better than any movie I've ever made.
Now, I don't remember 2 and 3.
Do the corners count?
I don't remember 2 or 3, but are the Interceptor featured a lot in those movies?
In 2.
Yeah, but I think it crashes in 2.
Like almost immediately.
Yeah.
Oh.
Pretty much.
That's unfortunate.
Then like he has to eat dog food while he's with this what was the guy's name? The helicopter guy?
Oh, I forget his name, but yeah, I think they call him the gyrocopter pilot.
Yeah.
Like
it was a bit weird that him and Mad Max developed some sort of friendship in 2, but then in 3, I mean, I thought that guy became the leader of that tribe, the White Cloth tribe, at the end of 2.
Right.
But then in 3, he's out there again. Yeah. And then in 3, he's there again. And then it's as if he doesn't recognize Mad Max. Like the way they talk. It's like, hey, you, do you want to live or something like that? It's just, it felt like I was expecting him to recognize Max, like, hey, it's you, but it just didn't feel like they did.
Right, and I thought that actually would have worked a lot better than what they did, because they have him rob Mad Max at the beginning with the airplane maneuvers, but not knowing that it's him, not knowing that it's his buddy. And then when he's in Thunderdome and he's in that barter town where he can see they can see each other, it's like they pretend they don't know each other.
Yeah. I noticed that he did say one man or two men go in, one man go out. He was one of the first that started cheering. So maybe he was cheering so that Mad Max lives.
Now in Fury Road, I think you can define Mad Max's entire character by just saying that he has a massive, dogged determination to survive no matter what the odds are. And in 2 and 3, is that similar, or are there different motivations? Is he a different character in those movies?
He's a bit more selfish in that, like, he keeps trying to get a deal for oil. Like in the second one, he was going to do that. And
yeah, he just wanted to get refueled and be on his way. And then I forget what the circumstances are. I think maybe they get attacked and their leader gets injured, and then he agrees to drive the rig or something like that. And it ends up being a decoy to draw the biker gang, or Humongous's gang, to attack the tanker, so that the children can
the buses
leave
can go away.
the bus. Yeah, and the buses have all the fuel inside. And so the tanker's just full of sand or whatever. And then in the third one, it's got the Tina Turner thing playing it over the top with the Thunderdome one man leaves action. They've got the midget on top of the hulking guy, and he's
the
like
Master Blaster.
The Master Blaster is like the leader of the underground. And there's this
also that's also another trope, the one with having like a big stupid guy controlled by a small midget on the back. Like, even Mortal Kombat has a character like that. Like that, even that's become like a trope. Everything from Mad Max kind of becomes a trope. The Thunderdome, the apocalyptic stuff, the cars, the sandy dunes.
Yeah, it's good. I love it.
Very phenomenal. It's good.
Yeah, you can't take it away from his ability to influence culture. That's one thing he's been incredibly successful at.
It's almost like a steampunk thing, like where I don't know if there was other like this type of genre before, where there's these dune buggy style like cars with spikes and shit on them, or if that's become a thing because of George Miller and because of this.
I think it became because of him. Especially from 2 onwards. I don't think 1 as much. I think 1 kind of saw, but 2 and 3 were the ones that had the big cultural impact. Because when you think post-apocalyptic, 1 doesn't really seem like what comes to mind, whereas 2 and 3, like there's pretty much no green. It's all just sandy. It's all just like a dark yellow, and then you have all the crazy people with wearing stupid shit. And I don't know. I always thought the flamethrower. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, well, I was just going to say that you're talking about 2 and 3 and what Mad Max is doing. Like, I guess you would call him like the reluctant hero in Fury Road.
Yeah,
it's definitely like the hero in the first movie. He doesn't want anything to do. He really wants to leave, right? Is that also the case in 2 and 3? He just wants to be done. He wants to get out of here. He doesn't want to like.
It's definitely the case in 2. But in 3, like he goes to the Tina Turner place, then because he wins the fight and reveals that he had a deal with the Tina Turner character, they kick him out. They tie him up to this horse and just let him go out to the desert. And he's found by this tribe of like kids who I don't know. They kind of they have this belief of this really mystical place that they can go to, which is also used in Fury Road because they believe in the green place, and the people from 3 believed in the Tomorrowland, I think. So like, and then some of the kids go back. We're going back to Bartertown or wherever, and so here he said he just goes back to save them.
Okay, so he's kind of out of gratitude then, not necessarily.
It's more like I think he just wants to when he sees the kids in danger, he just goes out to save them without a second thought, really.
Okay,
that's kind of how
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in Thunderdome, he does have like some skills as being a fighter, and he's got a comical amount of weapons. Like they have him turn in his weapons at the door, and he's just like piling firearm after firearm, blade after blade on the counter. It's like a dozen.
Good, he's learned. Good. He's watched his previous movies where he's like, man, that one guy with the shotgun, he didn't mess with him. Who does he end up beating in the Thunderdome? Does he fight Master Blaster?
Yeah, just the Blaster.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, the big guy. Yeah. It ends up being the guy from the first Mad Max.
Huh? The big dumb guy?
Yeah, the big guy, yeah.
Oh.
So it's like a little bit of a callback to that first one. I have one more comment on that first one. When the gang goes into that town, it sort of sets the scene as if the townspeople are afraid of this gang and what they're going to do. And so as a viewer, there's this expectation that they're going to attack these townspeople and like destroy the town and all this stuff. But what ends up happening is they just sort of like get rowdy and get drunk with the townsfolk.
Yeah, they ended up just kind of partying. And then they do some doughies, and then they do some wheelies, and then they're like, all right.
And they're like, fuck this red car.
And then, they're like, fuck this red car because they're trying to leave, I guess. I don't know. I just don't like it when people leave.
I also get angry when people leave my parties. Like, fuck you, I'm chasing you down.
Fuck those assholes. We're riding them down.
Yeah. Did you also notice the guy in the red car? After, like, there was a scene where he was running away, like when Goose and Mad Max came down. It looked like his ass was really red.
Yeah, it did. That? It looked like it was either bloody or red somehow. Yeah.
I think he got raped or something. Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, oh no, toe cut away.
Yeah, really. No, that was the implication. Either they were raping him with an implement or their penises. But that was the implication I got.
Yeah. Where does he get a HIV test in post-apocalyptic Australia?
There is a subtlety to a similar thing in Road Warrior, because like not the main bad guy, Humongous, but his like first lieutenant guy or whatever, like his right.
Oh yeah,
he's got a buddy who's like riding on his same bike with him, who's got.
And that's the one that gets boomeranged, right?
Yeah, he gets boomeranged in the head, but they look like they're a couple.
Yeah, I did notice that as well.
Yeah. So anyway,
the apocalypse is tough. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, you got to buddy up with somebody, man.
I'm almost turning gay now, like, let alone during an apocalypse. So, like, that's
smart survival skills right there.
Yeah, run down red cars, rape the guys. I didn't get something though. Why did that Charlie boy stay back with the girl, just lying down when everyone else had left?
Yeah, that made no sense. Why was he just sitting there?
Yeah,
just hanging out.
I kind of just thought, what the hell was that?
Like I was part of the gang that destroyed all the stuff. I'm just gonna sit around and wait to get caught.
Yeah, Charlie seemed to me like he was trying to join the gang or go through like the initiation process in some way. And he wasn't as overtly violent, but more like psychologically traumatized and deeply disturbed. Like he was actually scarier to me than Toe Cutter and any of the other overtly and obviously violent gang members.
For sure. But it seemed to me again like George Miller had this idea that one of them was going to get caught so that, you could have these other scenes happen where he's getting released and they're finding out who the cops are and that sort of thing. And they're like, well, how can we have this guy caught? I'll just have him sit around and hang out, I guess.
Convenient.
This is like, this is, I think, the stuff that could have been ironed out with a few more script revisions, with getting help from other experienced screenwriters and storytellers. But, they made this on a shoestring budget. They made it probably in a very short amount of time with a guy that probably mortgaged his house or whatever, called in all kinds of favors just to get it made in the first place. So I do appreciate how much effort it especially in that time, right? I mean, they didn't just have like an iPhone 10 and they could just start filming with, right? You got to rent nice cameras and get dollies, or at least mount cameras onto cars or vehicles or whatever. You got to get all that stuff. So kudos to them for getting this thing done.
Yeah, agreed.
Anyway.
Agreed. So any final points anyone wants to make before we get into summary and review and scores and all that good business?
Just how impressed I am with Miller. You know, I don't know if he's really ever going to be the master storyteller that I kind of wish he would be. Like if he worked with a really, really good screenwriter and then just used his artistic action, you know, and kind of partnered up with somebody that would create like the ultimate movie for me. But for what it is and what it was trying to be, Fury Road was a benchmark for action adventure movies, even if the script was, you know, fairly simplistic. And if Mad Max is what it took to launch that whole thing, then I'm a big fan of Mad Max. So,
all right. Well, why don't you just drop a score on it? Because that's a pretty good summary right there.
Okay. Well, the original Mad Max, it's got a lot of flaws. It is obviously, it doesn't look great. The characters aren't given a whole lot to do. The direction in the script, you know, is probably really, really lacking. But it's got a certain amount of charm and it's got a certain amount of tension. And I got to give it a positive score. I don't think it's great, but I would give it like a 6.5. And then with 2 and 3, I can't give scores to because I haven't seen them in forever. But they're probably somewhere in the middle between those and Fury Road, which, you know, I think I've already scored as I don't remember what I gave Fury Road. It was probably or above, is just being so phenomenal. So not that it's perfect either. I didn't like the terribly cheesy 3D effects that was like kind of the in vogue thing. And like there's a scene where there's this steering wheel or the guitar that comes flying at you or whatever. A little distracting. And there are a few, you know, things I can nitpick about that movie, but for the most part, it just curb stomps so many other action movies that I find hard to fault it too much. So 6.5 and a 9.
9 on that Fury Road. And we actually did Fury Road a couple of years ago, so I'll have that one on our show notes page as well. So there's going to be a plethora of prior appearances from Shaheen, our guest tonight, and also our episode on Fury Road. So Shaheen,
9 interceptors.
9 interceptors. All right.
6.5 interceptors.
So Shaheen, what's your summary and review and your score? And since you watched all 4 movies recently, I guess you can give 4 scores and 7 years ago.
Let me think. All right, the first one, very bare bones. Not really that apocalyptic. I still enjoyed watching it. I mean, at the beginning, it kind of took off a little bit slower. It was a little bit boring, but towards the end, it got really good. And I really did enjoy watching it. And I think Robert's 6.5 is a good score. 6.57-ish, I'd say. With 2, The Road Warrior, I definitely enjoyed that one a lot. It just felt like when I sat down and watched it, it just stuck. I wasn't waiting for it to finish or go. I was just enjoying every moment of it. All the characters were great. The feral boomerang kid, humongous. Especially that the white cloth wearing tribe, the leader there, the warrior woman who's appropriately dubbed warrior girl or whatever. And it's good for the gyrocopter guy. So that was good. I'd probably give 2 an 8, and 3. The 3 was pretty good as well. The Thunderdome, the whole Tina Turner thing, the tribe. I'll probably give 3 a 7.5, kind of in between 1 and 2. And I'd probably have to give Fury Road an 8 as well, on par with 2.
All right, so basically Black and Gold's pretty much all around. Recommend all 4 of the films.
They were all enjoyable, at least to watch once.
Yeah, and I agree. It was good to have watched them. I've only seen any of the first 3 movies, like, bits and pieces over the years, and so I had the more of the cultural phenomena of, like, being aware of it and from other references, and so I guess I was expecting it to be a little bit better than it was,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's a bit of a letdown, though I do think that the original and Road Warrior are both pretty decent, especially for what they were trying to do and what they spawned off. I did not like Thunderdome. I just it felt a little too hokey. It felt very much like those kids with Ewoks, and Tina Turner was like this over the top cameo type thing, like Grace Jones in A View to a Kill, the James Bond movie with Roger Moore, was just like over the top. So I'm going to give that one a little bit of a lower score. And then we watched Fury Road again, and I enjoyed it. It's like Robert said, it's really well done action film. The story, while a bit simplistic, at least there's a coherent story, right? And I think it's it's still pretty good. It doesn't need too much. They go out. She's trying to like find this tribe, and then thinks that she can go 160 days in the desert, but then decides to turn back and go 3 days in the desert to go and take over the little area that Morton Joe had. And it has a lot of like flashes of. I really like the War Boys and those characters and just their like fervor and all that. So I really like Fury Road quite a bit. So I'm going to go with 7 on the original, 7.5 on Road Warrior, go with a 4 on the old Thunderdome, and an 8.5 on the Fury Road.
Those fair scores. I think they're all probably worth watching at least once for their cultural impact, if nothing else, probably. But I highly recommend, of course, Fury Road. And I should probably go back and watch Road Warrior. You guys are kind of making it sound like a good time.
Two was really good.
Yeah, well, once you kind of figure out what's going on, it's a bit confusing just because of how it's presented. And I don't know if that's intentional. Maybe you're not supposed to get it right away, but I think
movie making back then was just a little more confusing. They didn't really flesh things out as well. They weren't that good at fleshing it. Because a lot of movies from that time, like old movies, are kind of confusing when you watch them. They don't like flesh things out, or they don't like set the scene too well, and things kind of look all over the place until it makes sense a bit later on.
Yeah, so it's almost like Road Warrior is maybe better on a second viewing when you kind of have the overall gist of who's who and who's doing what to who.
But in Road Warrior and in Thunderdome, he both does not have his family. They've both been killed, right?
Yeah. No police force, no family, no. There's no mention of any of that. Just nothing. It's as if it's like Fury Road, how he's just a random guy just by himself in the desert.
Yeah. Though in Fury Road, I think he refers that he was a cop. I think he mentions it to somebody.
Yeah, and there are flashbacks to his family being killed and wanting, him feeling guilt over not saving them and that sort of thing. But yeah.
Oh yeah. That's the other thing with Fury Road that I didn't get is those flashbacks that he's haunted by. Like, you didn't save us. But in watching the first 3 films, the only people he didn't save was his wife and kid, and I guess Goose, his partner. But like, he saves almost all of the kids in the Ewok village one, except for the one kid who like falls into the sand trap.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure if they're in the same continuity. Like, is Fury Road like a sequel to Thunderdome, or is it just like its own continuity? Is it like a new reboot? I always thought it was just a new thing.
Yeah, it feels much like a reboot. Like he's just kind of like a George Lucas type, where he's constantly just re-evolving the same idea. It seems to be.
Okay. So it's not that he's haunted by anyone we've met before per se. He's just a haunted guy.
I mean, it could be. It could be that like it is a sequel, and he's haunted by all the people that died, like in 2, like that tribe, and like that a lot could have happened between 3 and Fury Road if they are set in the same world, same continuity.
Maybe. I don't know.
Multiverse.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if George Miller has officially come out and said that these are all a strict quadrilogy or anything like that. I don't know.
Sure.
Don't know.
Well, you tell us, audience. Hit us up on our socials and leave us comments and all that stuff, or join us on the old Patreon, lastnight.com/Patreon. You can leave comments on there as well as your dollars, your Federal Reserve notes. We'd love to receive some of those while they still have buying power, which probably won't be much longer with the trillions and trillions that they've printed in the last.
Give it a week.
Just wait 2 weeks. We'll see what happens.
Hey.
So, Robert, while you're there, could you remind people what other things they could do to support what we do on this here show?
Yeah, there's all kinds of different ways. Other than just living your life and being a free, sovereign individual, and not paying attention or caring what the mainstream media or people have to say about you. Yeah, supporting us on Patreon is a great way to do it. It's a great way to give us your, like Daniel said, the massively devalued Federal Reserve notes, but also to just interact and give us thumbs up. And I understand I'm a lurker too. I don't really go out and reach out, but when you get that feed, it's really powerful. A lot of us in this kind of liberty movement we're not really doing it to get like any kind of monetary, we're not looking to get rich off of doing this. We're looking to do this to help make a better world, to spread these ideas. And a lot of times, our other lives, get in the way and we don't have time to do this. So if we don't feel like we're getting any kind of feedback or traction, then maybe we're going to stop doing it. And then I'm not talking about us specifically, but I know that other people in the liberty movement have burnt out and, kind of come around, left and then come back, or just kind of disappeared. And, support what you want to see more of in the world. That's what I believe in. And I'm sure that's what you believe in too. So if you want to see more content like this, reach out, become a part of the show. We've had so many listeners come onto the show and they've been great guests. So yeah, reach out, talk to us about a movie that you think we haven't done, that you think would make great fodder, great discussion. Even if you don't want to come on and talk about it yourself, recommend a movie to us. That'd be fantastic. We've had a lot of guests and people just send us random movies. Hey guys, this is saw this movie and it had so many interesting themes. We've done quite a few shows based on interesting listener recommendations. So that's really, really cool. So yeah, that's all I had to say about that. I have spoken.
This is the way to.
It is the way. This is the way to do it.
That's right.
To the green place.
To the green place. And this was our episode on Mad Max. I, of course, forgot to do our movie logo sound effect early on in the episode, but there it is.
No, that's like a big old chunk.
Yeah, there we go. So Shaheen, thanks again for being our guest on this one. It's been
no worries. Happy to be here.
We'll have you back for the old Snyder Cut in a couple of months. And,
yeah.
Hopefully you can stick around for a little bit longer for the Patreon bonus content coming up right after these messages, after we say good night from last night, everyone. Peace out. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot. I neglected to say what we're doing next week.
Oh, no.
Next week, we're going to be changing our tune entirely, and we're going to welcome back our friend Miguel Duque, who was on for Napoleon Dynamite and The Social Network. And he, by the way, has left almost all the mainstream social networks. So that'll be an interesting point of discussion in the bonus content with him. But he wants to do La La Land, which, Robert, I think you're a fan of this movie.
I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. It, Hollywood loves movies about itself. And this movie is very much about Hollywood. I'm a huge Emma Stone fan, and I think this is her best work in terms of her characterization. So, yeah, the singing not so good, but for the young director, I think he was like 30 or 31 or 32 or something like that. He's very young, and he won the best director and all kinds of accolades and that sort of thing. I think he also wrote the script too. So, it's an impressive film. If it doesn't quite hit home for you, And I do think we'll come up with some criticisms, but overall, it's definitely worth a watch.
Okay. So, well, I have not seen it yet, but I will. And then we'll talk about it.
All right. All right, then. Maybe we will.
Maybe we will. All right. Well, now I can say we'll see you guys next week. And good night from last night, everyone. Peace out.